is your Classic Metal Show right here on the ClassicMetalShow.com. That is brand new music from the band Burning Rain. The name of the album is Face the Music. The name of that song was called Hit and Run. And here's a guy that's getting ready to crash back into the studio of the Classic Metal Show. It is the guitarist of Burning Rain, and you might know him from another band or seven. It is the mighty Doug Aldrich. Doug, how are you, sir?
Hey, I'm good, Chris. How are you, bro?
I am excellent, man. I'm much more excellent now that I have this brand new Burning Rain record, man. What an incredibly solid, in-your-face, no-nonsense record, man. It's great.
Thank you so much. That is the best news I've gotten all day. I mean, you never know what people are going to think about something that you're doing, but I think that it's cool. It's different than Dead Daisies, and Keith sounds amazing on it. I really like lyrically where he went on this record, and I tried to, a little bit simplify some of my stuff, not make it so like intense or over the top, make it a little bit more song oriented.
Sure. Well, it definitely works, although I will say there are moments, and it's not you as much as it's Keith, there are definite moments on this record where you listen and you're like, well, that could be a Dead Daisies tune. The title track is one that stands out to me. When I first heard the title track, I'm trying to see if Karabi might have snuck into the studio or something with you guys.
No, I mean, that was actually, it's funny, that riff for me wouldn't be heavy enough for Dead Daisies.
Sure.
I didn't think about it. I had that riff for a while and actually had planned on using that with David Coverdale.
Okay.
And I never after the Forevermore record, obviously we toured and then we went our separate ways. But then I had showed that to Keith a couple of years ago, and he did something that was, he did what he did, and we really liked it. We kind of put it on the back burner, and then when we were getting ready to assemble the songs for the record, and we sat down and wrote a bunch, we found that song, and I thought that we got to use that. That's really cool. So it fits in the vibe of what Burning Rain is. It's kind of, it's this record, as I said, it's a little different. It's going in some different directions, but the title track is kind of typical Burning Rain, fun, rock and roll. Sure.
Now, Doug, walk me through this as a novice, as a failed musician, which I am. I've tried to write songs before. I've tried to write music before, and done it with obviously I'm here doing radio, so I didn't do it as well as you, obviously.
Well, I guarantee you that you and I could write a song. I could help you with that. If I sat down with you and you had your guitar, I know I could tell you this is how you should do it. Hey, and I would go, Chris, what did you just do right there? You go, I don't know, man. I played this and this. Dude, that's killer. A lot of times you don't even realize. You forget things that you've done, or you don't record them, or they just blast right into the orbit, and you never know. But I guarantee there's a songwriter in everybody, I think, man. It's art,
Sure.
That's the beauty of it. You could just slam a chord on the guitar and start going, hey, mama, and then
right.
all of a sudden you got this song.
Sure.
So, don't sell yourself short, Chris. I think you've got a career still.
Well, you know what? I'll stay with this career because I do this and I write books, and you know what? I'll stay with those because those work for me. For you as a guitarist, though, I always am surprised, I guess is the most relevant word, to see a guy like yourself that always sounds, top echelon with whatever you're playing, but you don't repeat yourself, and you're able to do it with widely different projects, whether it's Dead Daisies or Revolution Saints or Whitesnake or Dio or, these are all bands. Nobody's ever going to pick those bands together and say, yeah, those all sound the same. And for you as a creator, I have to imagine that you have a phone or a hard drive with 8 million riffs on it, and it's broken down into, well, this will only fit on rock, and this is more metal, and this is more blues.
Well, I have all that stuff, and I just label it. It's all in one place, and so when I'm kind of stuck, I'll go back and listen to some of that stuff, and I'll go, that's not right for this or whatever. But then I'll find something and go, oh, this is pretty cool. But but what it is really when you're writing for Whitesnake, I'm not going to do something that sounds like that. When I was writing for Whitesnake, I wasn't going to do something that sounded like Dio.
Sure.
It was just Dio was a bit darker, Whitesnake was a bit more bluesy. But I have all these different loves of that stuff when I was a kid growing up. I love the stuff, the really super heavy stuff that Ronnie did with Sabbath, and even prior to that when he was in Rainbow, I loved. And then obviously Coverdale in Deep Purple. And then when I heard Whitesnake, it kind of set me in a course of the direction of what my real style is, which is blues-based hard rock,
Sure. And
I tried to. I mean, I love Van Halen, but I don't play like him, and I don't, But he's one of the all-time greats. Randy Rhoads, all these guys, they all influence you. So you pull on that stuff, on those influences when you're writing with somebody like David or Ronnie. And with Keith, I just can kind of be myself and blues rock kind of, some aggressive stuff, aggressive riffs, but also some ballads. The thing about Keith that's really cool is he'll come over and I'll say, hey man, I got this idea. What do you think? And he'll start singing something and he'll get his phone out. And before I know it, we've got an idea on the phone, and we'll do that with 3 or 4 times. And then I'll pick up an acoustic guitar and I'll play something. He'll go, whoa, play that. That's really cool. I like that.
Sure.
And let me try and sing something on that. I'm like, okay. And it's not all of it's great, but we get a lot of stuff. And periodically we get a couple of really choice bits that we go, that's a song. That's going to be a song. That's really, I think the thing is when you're saying about how you can do something with different bands and it be different. With the Dead Daisies, for example, it's a band process that we do.
Sure.
I wouldn't come in with a full song. I would just come in with a riff. Like the guy said, let's go heavy. Let's go 70s heavy. And I just started playing the Rise Up riff, just thinking simple 70s heavy. And that's how it went. Then other things like, they said, let's do a song that's kind of it's simple and really got a sports type of thing. And that's how Make Some Noise came together, which I kind of took the essence of the Give Peace a Chance, John Lennon type of, arrangement thing. So you kind of pull on those arrangement things or those arrangement influences and riff influences. And then with the Daisies, it goes in a band direction. With Burning Rain, it's pretty much me and Keith at the moment that's designing the songs how we want them to be, and then the other guys come in and make them better.
Sure.
But I would love for us to write organically like the Dead Daisies do. I think it would be. It's really. It makes you feel good. That's what I'm trying to say. It makes you feel really good when everybody's involved.
Is one more easy or difficult than the other? Because, I've got and I'll take a guess and you can tell me I'm wrong. I would think that Burning Rain is probably a little more difficult for you because you're not writing to any strengths other than your own. You're not writing to Karabi's voice and the melody, the melody lines that would come with Dead Daisies. You're really just creating and there's no real boundary to it.
Well, also Karabi's a great guitar player,
sure,
too. So it's very easy with Dead Daisies because of Karabi, and now with Dean and Marco's great. Those guys. But in Burning Rain, Keith comes up with great stuff that he does, and I know that Blas and Brad have something to offer because they're great players. I know that Brad had you just mentioned Hit and Run. Brad really made that song happen and was really like kind of a champion for that song. And, I think that there's something to be said for any band now that I've experienced it. Because to be honest, before Dead Daisies, I never really did it that way. In Lion, we kind of did it that way, but we were so young, we didn't know what we were doing.
Right.
With the Dead Daisies, it's been great. I think a lot of bands could benefit from that, and younger bands stay with that and write together and try and, to help each other's, like, say you brought in this idea, I brought in that idea. Maybe you had 2 or 3, I had 2 or 3, and our drummer had a couple. and even if he had a couple beats, it was like, hey man, I really love this drum beat. That to me is songwriting, because it goes, if a guy plays a cool drum riff, then you make up a guitar riff that maybe is cool to go on top of it, and it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for that drum beat. So again, I think it's cool, and it's organic, and it's very rewarding to do it together.
Sure.
Once you got to get past the ego stuff too. There are some guys that it's like, no, I want to do everything myself.
Right.
and that is hard. But the reason it's difficult for Burning Rain in the past has just been because we didn't have much time together. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Keith would get together with me, and we'd bang out a couple things, and then we wouldn't see each other for 6 weeks because I'd go on tour. So we kind of planned this release to be when I knew I was going to be free and off the road with Dead Daisies for a bit.
Sure. And you know, to listen to it, it definitely show, like, Epic Obsession was a good record, but this is, I'm going to say it, this is probably the best thing that, in my mind, this is the best thing that you've laid guitar to. And I'm not just saying that because you're on the phone. You know, I have been playing this thing nonstop. It is just such a crunchy, in-your-face rock record, you know, that kind of doesn't happen anymore. Nobody's really doing this anymore.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot, and there's some stuff in Europe that people are trying to gain legs with, but we're fortunate that, you know, thanks to being associated with Ronnie and David and the Dead Daisies, especially now, it helps us get a little bit more exposure, you know.
Sure.
And so that helps. But I really appreciate your kind word. That's very kind of you to say. I never know. You never know.
Right.
I'm never satisfied with myself, and I know that there's some things that I could have done that would have made the record better, but it's too late. It's done.
Yeah, you know what,
So
Doug, you sound like every single solitary musician I've ever spoken to ever. There's none. I don't believe any of you guys are ever satisfied with your work, ever.
Well, it sounds like, I mean, you know, in hindsight, and hearing, like, for example, what David Coverdale is saying about his new record, he's like, it's a quintessential record. I'm very happy with it, and he's a guy that he really believes that. You know, he's not just saying that. Like, he goes, this is a solid record. It's a great record, and I stand behind it. He goes, I stood behind the last record I did, and he always does that.
Sure.
But I'm a different kind of person, I guess. I'm not as, I mean, he is the most secure, strong frontman you could ever imagine. He's that way as a person as well. The rest of us mortals, you know, we're not sure what we've been, you know, if I record a guitar solo, or if I sing a background, or if I do anything, I want it to be the best it can be, and I'm never sure if it's as good as I could have done better. And when I hear back a record, every time I think, I could have done something better. I should have done this, should have done that. So that's what we all say to you, probably, right, Chris?
That's exactly it. It's all, and the one that always cracks me up, especially, is when I get to talk to musicians, like, after a show, and I'll give you an example. I went and saw Doc in, I don't know, a week and a half ago or whatever, and I'm
cool.
I'm really good friends with John Levin, and
John's awesome.
And Levin comes off you know how good this guy is, and
yeah.
he comes off the stage and he's like, was it good? Did I suck? And I'm like, did you suck? Are you kidding me? You know.
Well, I think, you know, sometimes people are they just want to. He's a humble guy.
Yeah. And
I think he probably knew he did a good job. He just wanted to make sure, you know. But also, he didn't want to come off like, hey, that was pretty cool, right? You know.
Sure. It's
better to say, did I suck? And then someone will go, no, don't worry. But a lot of times I get off stage and I know I did suck. I try to be consistent as much as I can, but there are some nights that it's just like, no matter what you do, you can't get in the zone. And I think of guys like, sports stars like Kobe Bryant or something, and it's like the team is down by 20 points and in the fourth quarter and nobody's hitting anything.
Right.
It's just not happening. And Kobe's been off the whole night. or this is, you know, when he was playing.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden he fucking finds it and he lights it up, and bam, the Lakers won. And I try and, when I'm having one of those nights, I try and think about Kobe Bryant. I'm like, how did Kobe do that, man? This kid,
right?
He just would dig deep, and he'd pull out the Michael Jordan in himself. You know, that was his guy. So, but it sometimes happens. I get off stage and I'm just like, there's nothing I could do, man. It was brutal. And someone will come up to you inevitably on that night, and they'll go, dude, that was amazing what you did. And you're going, they're fucking with me, or they're like, are they being nice, or are do they feel sorry and they just want to make me feel good, or do they really think that? I mean, what's going on here? Because it's obvious that I sucked. So you never know. I mean, you question it. You question, like, second guess, like, are they serious?
Sure.
But the main thing is just go out there and do your best. The most important thing, I would give this advice to any musician, is to have fun doing what you're doing, because it's such a great blessing to play music and have people come support you. Just have fun with it. Sure. If you make a mistake, who cares?
Right.
It's like, you made a mistake. That's, people like mistakes sometimes. I mean, they don't want you to do a mistake the whole night and be screwing up all night. You know, they don't want you to be drunk or something and just have a very weird show like that. But I mean, if you make a mistake and you laugh about it, you probably won't make another mistake. You just let it go.
Sure.
And then you're okay. You know, you might interact with the audience on something, and then you make a mistake or something, but that's natural. That's okay. I remember there was a live recording where we were listening to Whitesnake live tracks, and Reb's guitar was going. At the end of Here I Go Again, it went from his normal G chord, and it kind of went sharp, and it went like really. It went out of tune,
right?
And we were like, "What's going on? What's going on there?" And all I could envision is that Reb was shaking somebody's hand, and the person was grabbing his tremolo bar, and I talked to him about it. He goes, "Man, that happens all the time. I'm shaking somebody's hand. They're grabbing my tuners and changing it, and the whammy bar and whatever, and that's cool. I like that stuff, you know."
Sure, absolutely. It's rock and roll. It's not supposed to be this finely polished sound. It's supposed to be raw and rough and, you know, and interactive, you know, and that's the thing that I think a lot of people lose these days, is the interactivity between the audience and the musician. Yep,
that's right. And that's what Keith is really good at. You'll see, and Karabi he's masterful in his own way. You know, Coverdale's the king, Steven Tyler's the king. Those guys, they can put an audience in the palm of their hands. But I was blown away how John Corabi would do it his own way.
Sure.
And Keith does it his own way. So they're, you know, hats off to those guys, because I certainly can't lead an audience like that. It's, you know, it's a scary thing to have a microphone,
right,
and have to say something cool all the time.
Right. And you know, it's funny you bring up Corabi. He's not only masterful at it on a stage, but, you know, he just is that guy. You know, I mean, he played one of his acoustic shows here, and there was an opening band in front of him. He's just sitting around at the bar. You know, he's not ducking himself away or anything. He's just sitting around at the bar, having a drink, taking pictures, signing whatever people wanted to have signed. You know, he lives that life. I honestly think he believes that he's just one of the guys and that has been fortunate enough to write some songs that people like.
Yeah, he is just a regular down to earth guy, salt of the earth, and I love him, man. I met him in 1979. We were both kids, and you know, we kind of followed each other's careers, doing different things. He was doing the Scream, and I was doing Lion, and we eventually got together. And I love working with him, man. He is even when he's in a bad mood, he's still funny. He still finds something funny to, you know, he'll flip it every time. I love that.
Sure. Very good, man. Well, Doug, obviously you have this great record, Face the Music. It's from Burning Rain. It's out on the 22nd of March. Is that correct?
That's right. Yep.
Excellent.
You can, if you Google Burning Rain, Face the Music, it'll send you to the Frontiers links, or
Okay.
Amazon. It's on Amazon. I think we're on the charts. We're 160. We're 1,963 on the charts right now.
Nice.
Hopefully, we'll bump up a little bit after the record comes up. But at least we're on there.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to debut wooden or plastic or something on your way to gold.
I think it at that level of the chart level, we're going to debut as Leaf. It's not even wood. It's just leaf, dried leaf. We present you, Burning Rain, with the Dried Leaf Award for selling 15 records this week. Now, I hope. Let's see what happens. I mean, this is a type of situation where we're able to with help from people like yourself, we're able to reach some people and expose a little, get some exposure a little bit, and actually more than a little bit, because guys like you have people that follow you, they love what you do, and so it helps, and we'll get out there, and little by little we'll build this thing up to be whatever it can be, and definitely going to support it live.
Excellent.
And so we've got Keith and I are doing, well, first of all, we got a record release in Vegas at Vamped on March 28th.
Okay.
Then Keith and I go directly to Europe. We're going to do a month of kind of acoustic promotion, but it's now turned into a similar thing what John was doing, was acoustic gigs with like a metal band opening up. And it was concerning, it's like, how are we going to compete with that? But just like you said, just be yourself and hang out, have fun, play the songs acoustically. And then we wind up April 28th at the Frontiers Music Fest, and then we're going to just relax and let it kind of build momentum. And we're working with promoters right now to look at coming back to Europe in September. Meanwhile, we'll be doing some Weekend Warrior stuff in the States. Cool. Trying to beg, borrow, and steal onto some shows, and we got to go to Japan too. It's very important.
Excellent, man. Well, it sounds great, man, and the record sounds great. It's called Face the Music. It is Burning Rain. And Doug, as a tradition on the show, we always let the artist pick a closing track from the record. Maybe tell us a story about it. So, what'd you like us to wrap this one up with?
I would say let's go with Face the Music, just because it's a simple, fun song. It's got a couple of different meanings. For me, face the music traditionally means, okay, you're in trouble, go face the music. But for me, it's a positive thing. I mean, anything in my life that I want to change, you got to go face the music and take care of it, change it. Mm-hmm. If it's something that I want to achieve, if I want to get a new car and I don't have the money to do it, well, get busy.
Right.
Find a way to make the money and face up to it, take it head on and get it done. And that's what I think of when I hear Face the Music.
All right, well, let's check it out right now. It is Face the Music, the title track. It's brand new, Burning Rain, right here on your Classic Metal Show.